Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Moldova Business Week. My name is Dumitru Cioric, and we'll be discussing today in this panel about the shift to the new global economy. All countries are now focused on being attractive to investments. I invite Mr. Usatăi, the Ministry of Economy, to tell us more about how Moldovan government deals with this agenda. Mr. Usatăi, you have the floor.
Dmitry, thank you very much. Dear panelists, hello to everyone. You know, this subject is easy and complicated at the same time. To be able in 10 minutes to discuss and to explain everything which the government is doing in order to attract investment, to preserve existing investment, to enlarge number of investors and potential investors, it's quite complicated and challenging. But first of all, what are we talking about? First of all, government have to create a business climate, provide infrastructure for investments, and to protect investments. I believe it's as simple as this. I will start my presentation with a very important slide. I will explain why. You can see on this just a simple chart, but it shows the statistical data from National Bank of Moldova on FDI and foreign direct investments. And you can see that since 2016, it is a continuous high growth in FDIs. You see in percentage, it's a minimum 150% every year, and during last year it was about 200% in growth. What does it mean? First of all, consecutive policies. We understand that when investors are coming, they are looking for stability, continuity. Stability including political one. How many governments have changed since this time? But, you see, I don't believe that it's going to be a government who is going to touch somehow in a negative way anything which is related to foreign direct investors and to protect investors' rights. And you can see it is a sign of trust of foreign investments who continue to invest in the Republic of Moldova, and this rate is growing. So I believe during these 2 days, with the support of our colleagues, we shall be able to increase this trust for existing investors, to be able to ask them to increase their existing investments and to enlarge the business, and of course to attract new potential investors. What are the main areas of investing? The most competitive sectors, I would say. In our opinion, taking into account statistical data, there are agricultural and food industry, automotive industry, manufacturing machinery of parts, electric devices, light industry, information communication, business process outsourcing. I will not have time to start in any of these in details because in accordance with the agenda for 2 days forum, most of these sectors are going to be covered in details by our colleagues. I will stop a little on the sectors which are not covered under these 7 important areas, but still very important. Here we speak about energy efficiency, infrastructure and tourism. I will start with investment opportunities in infrastructure and energy market development. Here you can see very interesting figures, what we're working upon at the time. Currently we are constructing the interconnection, asynchronous interconnection through power lines between Moldova and Europe, with Moldova and Romania. Here we speak about 400 kilowatt line, aerial line, and back-to-back station in Vulcanești. But this is only the first stage, and it already cost hundreds of millions US dollars equivalent. The next stage is going to be connections through Suceava belts and the same back-to-back station. Gas sector, a lot of investments here. We are working together with the Secretariat of Energetic Community in order to open the market for everyone who wants to invest in gas sector as well. Energy efficiency and renewables. Here we can see figures, what are we going to, in accordance with our strategy on energy efficiency, what we want to reach during the next 5 years, to increase the generation by about 555 megawatts in 5 years. What does it mean? About 55 megawatts, it's natural by using natural gas, and the project is already ongoing. The project financed by proceeds of EBRD grant in Chisinau, and the tender is going to be launched by the end of November. Please follow the websites of the Ministry and City Town Hall. And renewables. You see, our plan is to increase the renewables generation by plus 500 megawatts. It means automatically investment of about 1 billion euros equivalent. Currently, we also have a lot of investment in energy efficiency projects and buildings. Current project is 275 million euros ongoing, and also improving the district heating system performance in Chisinau, also about 100 million. You can see investors and rooms for investing are very high in these sectors. Transport sector. Transport sector, very interesting one. From one point of view, it's subject of investment, like infrastructure projects. From other point of view, it's a component for successful investment, because without transport connection, we cannot speak about logistics, which is a very important part of transportation. You can see on this map, it is a transport, priority transport projects for Republic of Moldova, which were largely discussed and accepted within the Eastern Partnership. The total cost of this investment are going to be about 1 billion euro equivalent. Currently, we are working with our development partners in order to identify sources necessary to develop feasibility study, detailed design, and to finance these works. It's not only infrastructure, there are hubs, logistics centers, Giurgiulești, Freeport, and so on. My best slides, because I'm coming from this sector, from road construction. About road construction, one of the components, indeed, ingredients for successful attraction of investments. You can see only the figures. Currently, under rehabilitation, 540 kilometers, grants and credits from international financing institutions. This is a main transport core network which provide connection between the main cities of Moldova with the border of Ukraine, with border of European Union, with the Romanian border. Short term and mid term, we are planning to invest about 1 billion plus. We are currently designing about 750 kilometers of roads. So here's opportunity for investments are even bigger and coming to be bigger and bigger. And one more sector which I wanted to touch separately, tourist development. This is a sector which was neglected for years. Currently, we are working together with our development partners in order to finalize elaboration of the program. It's going to have to be ready by the end of this year, and to provide clear incentives for investors to invest in touristic sector in Moldova. Invest in content, invest in infrastructure, hotels, modernization of sanatorium, and many other things. Please follow preparation of this document. It's going to be presented for public consultation. Very big potential, very good opportunity. Also, another very important topic, investments in Moldova IT Park. But here I will skip these slides with your permission, because here we have presented in our panel representative of administration of IT Park. Not to duplicate the presentation, I believe we are going to have very good coverage of this topic. Industrial platforms, business platforms, business infrastructure. Here we talk about investment of states in free economic zones, subzones, industrial parks, and if you come in the next slide, new project which for multifunctional industrial platforms. Very important topic. Due to lack of time, I will skip it, but tomorrow, head of ODIM organization in Moldova is going to have a dedicated presentation. Please follow, indeed, very good, attractive proposals from the government of Moldova for you to invest in Moldova. Some of the most important policies we are elaborating at the government level for economic development, and as a measure to somehow to mitigate the negative influences of COVID crisis. Many things which were asked and requested by our business society, small and medium enterprises which were negatively reflected by or affected by this COVID crisis. You can see, for example, is approval amendments of insolvency law, which allows the companies who are in troubles and difficulties just to have more flexibility to save their businesses. Okay, last 30 minutes. Why to invest in Moldova? First of all, geographical location, access to major markets. You know that for majority of goods and services we have free trade agreement with the European Union and the same from CIS countries. Strategic location, just 2 truck days and your goods are already exported in CIS or European Union. Skilled multilingual workforce. We are speaking many languages. Many languages is in use here in the Republic of Moldova. Russian, Romanian, English, German, French, Turkish, and so on. Our openness to foreign investors and foreign investments. Also, we have very good fiscal and financial tools. I believe that during the today's and tomorrow's sessions, you are going to have this information. So, I believe in this very, very short time, together with our colleagues, we shall succeed to convince you, come to Moldova, invest in Moldova, discuss with the companies who already invested in Moldova. Tomorrow you're going to have a very interesting panel with the representative of Business Association, with Investors Association. These are our very strong partners in promoting our policies. So trust in Moldova, invest in Moldova. Thank you very much.
Mr. Usati, one more question. You have mentioned in your presentation about the strategy for durable, inclusive, and digitalized economy till 2030. Can you tell us more about this? Because I am sure those who are watching us from abroad are interested. Which are the priorities for the next 10 years in Moldovan economics?
Very good question. Thank you very much. Indeed, this strategy about priorities. You know, currently in Moldova we have tens of sectoral strategies. Sometimes the collaboration and coordination of different actions is on a weak, I wouldn't say is a perfect. So having adopted Moldova development strategy, Moldova 2030, having adopted in Moldova United Nations Sustainable Development Goals for 2030, we need to have a strategic document, intersectorial one, which have to set very clear responsibilities and strategic objectives. These objectives have to be used by all the line strategies and programs, cross-sectoral, for example, like in transport strategy or agricultural strategy, and it's going to be, let's say, a tool which will allow us on the government level to say, okay, when we, for example, every strategy needs to provide a financing. We have to finance. What shall we finance? The strategy, the action, the plan, which provides the most contribution to the general goals what we are talking about attracting investments, about improving the investment climate, and so that's all. And if we see, for example, that investing $500 million in a sector which provides the biggest growth in these indicators, of course, its sector is going to be a priority. So this is a set of priorities on the state level, intersectorial, cross-sectoral, and it's going to be finalized by the end of this year. We are we thank to JSZ, USAID, and the World Bank who helping us in finalizing and elaborating of this strategy.
Thank you, Mr. Usati. Every time when a new government is installed, the authorities are eager to meet the business and ask how they can help. Most of the time, the answer is the same. Please don't change fiscal policies. Please give us predictability. In a pandemic year with lots of challenges, government and especially the Ministry of Finance was challenged to respond with a package of fiscal measures. I invite here Tatiana Ivanichkina, Secretary of State at Ministry of Finance, to talk about these measures. Please.
Thank you, Dumitru. Thank you, colleagues. Esteemed representatives of the business community, I am honored to participate in the 7th edition of the Moldova Business Week, one of the most important events dedicated to the business community organized by the government. I am convinced that this event is a good opportunity to exchange information about investment opportunities in the Republic of Moldova in order to build mutually beneficial partnerships. The COVID-19 pandemic as well as the drought have significantly impaired economic and social activity. The authorities' decisive response to instill public discipline and safeguard public health has contributed to a gradual slowdown of the effects of the pandemic. At the same time, economic measures introduced by the government succeeded in mitigating the adverse impact of the pandemic and the drought on enterprises and citizens. On the production side, the outbreak has reduced domestic output, with HoReCa, construction, transport, and manufacturing being mostly affected. Once the situation has stabilized, new measures will be taken to support recovery and create a solid foundation for a sustainable and inclusive long-term economic growth. The Republic of Moldova, like many countries in Europe and the world, is using all its available resources to limit the spread of the COVID-19 and to reduce its impact on public health, social life, and the economy as a whole. The crisis is straining public finances due to lower than projected tax revenues and rising spending pressures due to the need for additional health and social expenditures. These measures were adjusted to the realities of a budgetary framework, but more is still needed. The government has responded promptly to the pandemic with a package of fiscal measures. In the health sector, additional funds were allocated to the health fund and to regional hospitals for needed medical equipment and for additional protective gear. On social protection, the government has ensured the full and timely payment of all social benefits, pensions, and salaries in the budgetary sector. The coverage of the unemployment fund was extended and the unemployment benefits for current beneficiaries were raised. In addition, the state budget increased transfers to the social fund to compensate for the reduction of contributions. To support businesses in distress, the following support mechanisms have been established during the year 2020. Temporary tax holidays for business income and local taxes. Subsidies granted in the amount of wage-related taxes paid for furloughed employees, for enterprises and non-commercial organizations that have established technical and/or stationary unemployment during the emergency lockdown. Interest subsidies on loans from commercial banks, accumulated VAT refund in the amount of payment of salary taxes, the increase by 20% of the agriculture subsidy fund, granting preferential term loans to small and medium enterprises via commercial banks through on-lending from proceeds of sovereign loans, increase of the current guarantee fund under the Ministry of Economy and Infrastructure for small and medium enterprises, loans from commercial banks. The main objective of the government for the period of 2021-2023 will continue to be strengthening the budgetary fiscal position and to consolidate the management of public finances. We expect a gradual recovery over the medium term, but heightened uncertainties still pose significant risks to the outlook. Real GDP is forecasted to contract by 4.5% this year in 2020, and with growth rebounding to around 4% being the production and labor productivities offered by the association agreement with the European Union, as well as by better access to credit. Tax policy measures in the following period will support economic growth and the structural reform agenda, ensuring a level of public spending of around 3% of GDP. In addition to current budget expenditures, investments in health, infrastructure, and education will remain a priority. Will continue as they are seen as an effective means of stimulating economic activity, overcoming the crisis. Infrastructure modernization projects will be implemented, including roads, energy sector, water and sewerage systems. The implementation of the key policy initiatives in response to the COVID-19 pandemic will require significant resources, and the government is committed to providing funds from the national public budget. The tax and customs measures for 2021 are designed to support the economic sectors which have been affected by the pandemic in 2020. Tax and customs policy will also aim at reducing the economic constraints and ensuring a legislative framework conducive to the sustainable economic development of the Republic of Moldova. It needs to be emphasized that in order to ensure fair treatment of enterprises and formalize employment, the government will intensify the fight to eliminate tax evasion and reduce the shadow economy. The main tax and customs policy measures proposed for 2021 include increasing the personal exemption for personal income tax by 5% and the exemption for dependents by 50%. The standardization of income tax rates, the taxation of financial income at the rate of 3%, as well as the elimination of the taxation of dividends distributed to legal entities. It is also proposed to standardize VAT rates in agriculture by applying a reduced VAT rate of 12% for fertilizers, primary agricultural production, as well as to continue the VAT reimbursement program for agricultural producers affected by natural disasters. The draft tax and customs policy also establishes the excise quotas for the following 3 years in order to assure predictability, introduces caps on local taxes, but also optimizes local taxes by eliminating those with low tax returns. It is also proposed to set up an employment subsidy mechanism that will be targeted in particular at young people and the ones from diaspora who will be employed in the Republic of Moldova. Other measures are related to the implementation of a subsidy mechanism for economic agents to collect and recycle packaging, the reorganization of the customs service in order to increase quality of taxpayer services, as well as the implementation of measures to reduce cash use in the economy. At the same time, a primary objective of a government is to consolidate the budget revenues through efficient tax and customs and not by increasing the tax burden. Of course, this needs to be done within the current realities and constraints. Finally, I would like to assure you that the government's priority related to the business community is based on the principle of simplicity, clarity, and rationalization of the process of calculating and paying taxes and fees. The government is committed to addressing shortcomings in the areas of fiscal governance, financial sector oversight, market regulation, rule of law, etc. Addressing these shortcomings will improve the business climate, will strengthen the fiscal and financial sector, thereby fostering inclusive and sustainable growth and accelerating income coverage between Moldova and its European peers. Thank you.
Ms. Ivanishkina, thank you for your input. A couple of weeks ago, e-Governance Agency of Moldova has launched a couple of very weighted platforms, online platforms. One of it was dedicated to the interaction between citizens and the government, a personal office of the citizen. I have signed in with my mobile signature. I could enter my personal cabinet. I was able to see my voting section, watch my fiscal reports, my medical insurance, the taxes I have paid, the real estate I don't own yet, and I found that amazing. I invite, as the next speaker, the Iurie Țurcanu, the director of e-Governance Agency, to speak us more about the public digitized services.
Dumitru, thank you very much. Dear Minister, distinguished colleagues, this was a very kind introduction to my topic, which I'm going to discuss today. And the key messages to businesses and investors here is that the government is committed to digitize its processes, but it's more important for the topic today is to digitize the relationship between the state and businesses, the state and citizens. Yes, recently we launched the Personal Office for Citizen, and we are on our way to launching the Personal Office for businessmen, for entrepreneurs, in such a way that the data, the information, and the services they need are one just click away. Yeah, so we have a decade of being involved in this digitization of the government. and the government services. Our core dimensions are to digitize public services, to digitize internal business processes of the government, and to create tools for people to participate in the decision-making process. But the core of our activity, of course, is public services. When we started to understand what the public service is and how we can help sectors to digitize those sectors, we find out that we need a whole bunch of infrastructures which we have to put in place first in order to have these high-quality services. The very first question is about who is on the other end of the line. Later, how we can digitally sign things in such a way that they have the legal binding to those electronic transactions, they do have a legal binding. How we collect electronic payments, how we host these systems, because they do not work from 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock in the evening. They work 24 hours around. So we had a lot of challenges. We solved them one by one. And now, 10 years ago, we do have a whole bunch of microservices which can be assembled together to deliver, to faster deliver different sectorial services and to improve their quality. So these microservices, they are responsible for different cross-cutting things, for those responding to those challenges which I've just mentioned. If it is up to collecting money for services we are providing, and not just central public authorities, but local public authorities, then it is MPay service which does that. If it is signing of some content, that's M-Sign service which does that on behalf of each and every authority. But later, as you, Dumitru, in your kind introduction to this subject, you said, we launched the portal, the Citizens Portal, which is an aggregator of all information about me as an individual, and provides the services which are associated to that information. For instance, if I'm a vehicle driver, and I have a vehicle to drive, then when different assurance, for instance, is expiring, I can get that particular notification, I can obtain that service right away. So there are different data blocks which are associated with this platform, with Citizens Portal, but till the end of this year, until January next year, we will launch the Entrepreneur Portal, which will follow the same principle. We'll bring data and different services, such as reporting to the state, such as access to different information for subsidies and for some different projects to entrepreneurs, in such a way that this information is very convenient to consume. On this slide, there are some information blocks which will be available in this portal, I will have to emphasize that we are building this portal together with Ministry of Economy, with Economic Council of the Prime Minister, and with business community. So this portal is intended to respond directly to the challenges business faces. On Tuesday next week, we are going to launch one portal, which, again, a new service which will complement that set of services which I already mentioned, the authorization register, which will allow different enterprises to nominate different people to act on their behalf in different circumstances. For instance, me as an entrepreneur, I could nominate someone as an accountant, and this person immediately have access to all the information resources an accountant has to have access to. So this is a simple concept where there is a type of kind of delegation or authorization which we are going to provide as a legal entity or as enterprise. So we can delegate our competences or create these delegations from an individual person to another individual person, from an individual to a legal entity, from legal entity to legal entity, and so on and so forth. This is a very promising resource because most of our people from diaspora, from those who are living abroad, they are all the time asking to create such a mechanism to delegate someone to act on their behalf, still being in the country, and from investors to nominate someone here in the country to act on their behalf, they being abroad. Another important service to mention is MPay, which was recently updated. MPay now is not only a way to collect money for the provided services, but it's a way from January 21st, it will be a way to distribute payments for pensions, for different allowances, social allowances. So this is a very, very dynamically growing service, 1 million, new 1 million transactions every year. So we accumulated roughly 11 billion leys to the state budget through this service. M-Connect is another service which brings all the data from all different administrative resources in one single convenient way and provide this data for decision making in process of administering of enterprises. This is a core of very engineering, a process which is a very significant part of the process of the modernization of governmental services. We decided for ourselves, we are not going to digitize any more services which did not pass the engineering first. We are not going to spend our money on digitizing garbage, because if we digitize garbage, then we will get in the end digital garbage, nothing valuable. So this process of modernization is split into 4 distinct phases. First one is to rationalize the public services, to get rid of those obsolete services, of those unused services, or those who are repeating themselves. Those services who passed this filter, they are going to be re-engineered from citizens' perspective, and after that to be digitized, and after that to be put in place and to be fully delivered. And the principles behind this modernization is, first of all, citizen centricity or business centricity, if we are talking about businesses here, and minimum visits to different offices, minimum interaction with different authorities, and allowing all this to happen remotely, all this to happen through internet. The key message in all this very succinct presentation, I will have to say, is that all these infrastructures, they are all available to businesses. They are all available to the investors to be reused and to be put in their service in such a way that we are laying out the landscape for them to innovate, to digitize, but we on our behalf will facilitate this interaction with the state to be as seamless as possible, as comfortable as possible. Thank you.
Mr. Zurcanu, now I have a tough question. Do you have any data right now showing how many businesses use online services? And if you have the data now, what is your projection, I don't know, for the next 10 years? What are your expectations regarding to this issue?
This is a really tough question regarding the expectations, because it's kind of challenging to predict what will happen from 10 years from now, because the technology and digitization and the evolution happens so fast that it is quite a challenging exercise to predict for such a long time. But to the first part of your question, businesses are very keen to use digital services. We as a government, we have to facilitate that step. The pandemic and this new normal, which we have to confess that we will not get rid very soon out of it, this remote interaction is a dominant now, and businesses are more and more they are more eager to consume these electronic services instead of traditional services. Although they still consider traditional services being more comfortable, more trustful, I would have to say, in our culture. We do our best to change this mindset. So until 2020, this percentage or this appetite for digital services was kind of 20% for some services to 99% for some others. But with pandemic, this percentage of appetite for digital services roughly, I would have to say, is closer to 50%. So whenever is a possibility not to go physically to physical counter, businesses prefer to do that. In terms of digitization, the 10 years from now, we hope we'll have everything digitized. And with Ministry of Economy, we recently implemented through M-Connect, through data exchange, a reform, and from 430 permissive acts which businesses need to conduct their businesses, we end up, after this reform, with just 130. And this, we are still counting down the number of documents because of the automatic data exchange behind the scenes.
Mr. Țurcanu, thank you for your very interesting and challenging domain you have in front of you. The new era, internet and technology is putting a hard pressure on universities and education system to adapt faster to the needs of the market. I'm inviting as the next speaker, the rector of the Technical University of Moldova, Mr. Viorel Bostan, to talk about the human capital and the ways to fit in the new era. Mr. Bostan, please.
Thank you, Dumitru. And first of all, I will start my presentation with some observation or maybe thoughts. New era is defined as an era that will include the COVID-19 pandemics, or hopefully in half of a year or maybe at most 1 year, this new era will be that year that we were dreaming about, let's say, 1 year ago. I will start my presentation with a short introduction of our university. Our university was established in 1964. Today we have 9,000 students being instructed at all 3 levels of education: bachelor degree, master degree, PhD. We are quite a traditional polytechnic institution. We are the only one engineering school comprising students in areas like computer science, electronics, mechanical manufacturing, engineering. We have also some areas related to arts and design, like fashion design, urbanism, architecture, or interior design. So now, first I will try to present the view that our university have in that old dispute with the industry. That dispute started probably with Industrial Revolution, when on one hand the industry was saying, look, we need for work-ready graduates, we need those graduates who from their first day of work will contribute to the company value. Also today we're saying that the demand for new professionals, for new jobs is outrunning the supply that university might provide. Also, technology changed all the areas of human activities, and it will change even more the whole landscape of the skills. Today we are talking about new skills necessary for the future, like critical thinking, or team working, or creativity. And of course, digital skills are also an important element of the new profile of a successful professional. Also, the industry is always complaining that the universities are not adapting fast enough, we are not answering to the needs that they feel to be answered much faster. On the other hand, we as university professionals, we are saying that, look, universities are providing the fundamental education first of all. We are research intensive, and we are preparing our graduates for the jobs of the future, those jobs that probably are yet not in our view. Therefore, the goal for the university is to have graduates that will be able to learn all their lives, that will be able to solve problems yet not defined, and be prepared for noble situations. Also, another complaint of the universities is that the curriculum changing is a very complex process. It's quite regulated by the government or by accreditation bodies. And of course, it is also risky. Who will cover those risks in terms of cost, since university today are on financial autonomy? And of course, not only university should be involved, we have to involve also the industry. Now, what are the recipes for success? On the left of this slide, you have, in my opinion, some key ingredients to have a successful product, like quality raw materials, qualitative equipment and skilled motivated workers. You need to have a good design of your product, and of course you need the market where to sell your product. If we will do a comparison, similar things are, in my opinion, important for the university success. First of all, we need the high quality primary and secondary education skill, like raw material for our education. When we need good professionals, we need modern infrastructure in terms of ICT systems or labs and learning spaces. We need the quality curriculum to answer the industry needs, and also clearly we need future jobs for our graduates. In other words, we need a well-developed industry and innovation ecosystem. Now I will talk a little bit about all these key ingredients, what we have done in the last 2 years at least. We were involved in a lot of projects together with the Ministry of Education to enhance the curricula, to introduce new subjects in the school curriculum, subjects like information security, robotics, programming. We developed all those curriculums. Also, we were involved in the digital library Education Online, but was a very successful project run by the Chisinau City Hall and Ministry of Education. We are organizing different events, campaigns together with high school students, and of course we are also doing a lot of trainings for IT, physics and vocational training professors, such that the kids who are coming to the university will be well prepared. COVID-19 pandemics put a big emphasis on the digital services and digitalization, and we are very glad that somehow we met this new reality quite prepared. First of all, university is involved in a big digitization reform in terms of integrated management system. We are developing our course delivery systems. We are implementing very well-known products to be online, and not only. It will be a beautiful project next year. We will start to create a wireless campus data network that will connect all the buildings and all the dormitories of our university. We are developing our digital video platform for courses. And of course, we are helping our teaching and research staff to meet the online, for example, learning, and to be more creative in their course deliveries. Now, these are some just data how the usage of digital services in our university exploded. You can notice that in the last 3 months, September, October, and November, more than 7,000 users daily are using the platforms to take online classes, to share the projects and homeworks. These are some data again about what kind of products we are using. We're quite traditional in universities. And I believe that learning spaces are those who will define the quality. Therefore, with development partners, we invested a lot in the reshaping of the labs and learning spaces. Here are some pictures of the projects done with USAID and Moldova Competitiveness Project and Swedish Embassy. Also, we have a Fab Lab facility that allows students to prototype their ideas. These are some learning spaces created together with the big software companies present here in Moldova. We have a lot of spaces for collaborative learning, and also we have spaces changed for like cafeterias or the libraries. And the libraries will be our next goal for the incoming years. Another interesting project that's going on right now is a project implemented together with the government, who contracted a credit from the European Bank of Investment. It's called Orchard of Moldova. And we already equipped more than 10 laboratories in food processing and food quality departments. Now, how about the quality curriculum? Now, what we have to understand is that the time lag dilemma is not only dependent on the university. Because the standard time frame to change the curriculum and to see its effects is approximately 10 years. From enrollment to graduation, we have 4 years. Then we need to go through 2 accreditation cycles, which means 8 years totally. Then up to 5 years for the graduates to effect the change in their corresponding job positions. We right now are working on a new curriculum, new programs that will have some enhancements. First of all, we would like to put a bigger accent on innovation and entrepreneurship skills. And also, in terms of the bachelor degree curriculum, where some new changes. First of all, we will introduce 2 new classes mandatory for all first-year students. One class is on the information technology based on Cisco curriculum, and second class will be a programming language Python. And I will repeat, these classes will be mandatory, first of all, for all non-IT students. Mechanical engineers, architecture students, economists, food processing engineers, and so on. Also, we would like to develop new joint programs together with the industry to answer their needs. We will put a bigger accent on master degree programs to make them more professional. And also, a bigger requirement from the curricula is to take a look at those transversal, or as they are known, soft skills for our graduates, like communication, critical thinking, or multidisciplinarity. And here you can see a picture of one of the events we are organizing every year, where students and high school students are meeting together in our spaces to communicate and to participate in the academic life. Thank you very much.
Mr. Bostan, you have mentioned in your presentation that the companies are waiting for skilled and motivated workers. On the other hand, we see a trend in the last 10 years, I believe, the online learning. There are a lot of online platforms that provide e-learning, some for free, others for a commission, for a fee. Do you believe this is possible, e-learning and high-skilled workers? Is this possible?
I think that online will be with us for the next decade at least. But of course, it cannot compensate completely for the traditional face-to-face learning. And I'm saying this from my personal teaching experience. Even if I'm a rector, I'm still teaching classes. And it's very difficult to have just the images of your students without having that feedback channel, without that emotional connection. And of course, face-to-face learning cannot be completely compensated by online activities. But on the other hand, online education opens new perspectives. It's much easier for us, for example, to invite professors to teach classes. People are not that afraid anymore about the online education. And when a professor, let's say from a top university or bigger research institute, can easily connect without additional cost to our students and perform that instruction and share of knowledge. So there are good things, there are bad things, but I think online will be with us, opens new perspectives, but it will not compensate completely for face-to-face. So we will have some kind of a hybrid learning, and that will enrich the educational experience.
Thank you, Mr. Bostan. About 5 years ago, I was writing an article for the foreign media about underlining some great advantages Moldova has. High internet speed, very close to the heart of European Union, and the tax incentives the Moldovan government prepares for the IT sector. What happened in the last 5 years, and where are we now? I'm giving the floor to Natalia Donsu from Moldova IT Park to tell us more. Please.
Thank you, Dumitru. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I know many of you have not traveled for a while. This is why I would like to invite you today in a journey with me. So let's imagine we are in 2016. What do you remember about that year? We had several significant global events. British people voted to leave the EU. North Korea tested its fifth nuclear test. Donald Trump became the US president. I also have a very clear and bold memory in my mind. Back in time, I was working in the tax department of a big four company. And ICT was one of the sectors I was responsible for. So actually, every day after lunch, I took 10 minutes to read the tax and tech news. So in 2016, in those after-lunch breaks, I read that the Moldovan parliament adopted the law on virtual IT parks. And I knew that that moment will be a cornerstone for our further ICT sector development. In the last 15 years, ICT sector in Moldova grew by 40 times, and now it is the third sector in our economy. It was the same back then in 2016, and it was a government top priority. But we had to find a solution to remain competitive on the regional market. We had to find a solution to attract new investors, but also to keep our talented people in Moldova. We had to find a solution to support IT, but also digital innovation. So we had to find a solution, something truly innovative, to keep and develop our ICT sector in Moldova. And actually, government's answer to these challenges was the adoption of the law on virtual IT parks. On 1st January 2017, this law entered into force. And actually, it came with an absolutely unique concept in the world, because it proposed to companies who developed software, computer games, hardware management, data processing, and other IT activities to operate in an absolutely new format. The government proposed a 7% flat tax rate for these companies, and this tax rate will actually replace their entire tax burden. And when I talk about the entire tax burden, I don't refer only to the taxes that the company will pay, like the corporate income tax, payroll taxes, road taxes, local taxes, and so on. But I also refer to the taxes, the payroll taxes, that are due usually at the level of the employee. So now the companies that operate in Moldova IT Park don't have to pay any other taxes except this single 7% tax, but their employees neither. So this innovative concept actually had a twofold impact. From one point of view, the tax burden for these companies reduced by 2 or 3 times. But on the other hand, their interaction with the state and their tax compliance also reduced a lot. And those which operate in business know that it is very important to have a simple interaction, but also to have reduced cost on this part. The second innovative element of the virtual IT parks was the virtual regime, meaning that resident companies can operate anywhere in Moldova, and they do not have to be present in a specific perimeter. And when we are talking about the IT industry, this is very important because it is a mobile industry. It is very much working from wherever the country is, and this actually give more flexibility to these companies. A little bit later, in 2017, the government enhanced its commitment to develop this sector, and it adopted the IT visa program. This program came to actually facilitate the immigration of high-qualified ICT specialists in Moldova, but also to give an opportunity for our local companies to invite these specialists to work in Moldova. On the other side, the global tech companies would be able to easily relocate their business in Moldova or expand it here. So this program actually offers now the possibility for IT specialists to receive a work permit for 2 years and IT manager for 4 years. I can assure you that this is actually the most competitive tax and immigration regime in the region. Going further, on 1st January 2018, our journey started when Moldova IT Park was created at the initiative of 15 private companies by the government, and it was created for 10 years period. So since then, Moldova IT Park became the most important government initiative to boost the regional competitiveness of Moldovan IT industry. Later on 2018, the government approved extending the eligible activities because we've seen in the first year of our operation that actually each day one more company will become resident of Moldova IT Park. So by the end of 2018, we already had more than 300 companies. So in July 2018, we extended the eligible activities with R&D, with manufacture of electronic components, but also some activities very important for creative industries about which Doina will talk after me. In 2019, in just 1 year after its operation, the International Telecommunication Union recognized Moldova IT Park as one of the best global practices to promote and develop the IT ecosystem. So where we are now, I can say that this year, when the pandemic changed our life and governments all around the world would put in the challenge to find solutions to support business, this is what happened for the ICT sector in Moldova. So first of all, the state extended its guarantee for applying this 7% single tax until 2026. And the second very important support measure was that of setting the legal backgrounds, the legal framework to have in the future a fund for supporting digital innovations and technological startups. So what we can tell now and what are the results of these great policies that we have in place is that today Moldova IT Park has more than 600 residents. These residents come from more than 37 countries, and 1/4 of them are foreign investors. We had succeeded to boost and to encourage new startups, and we see that 50% of our residents are have been incorporated after the launch of Moldova IT Park. These companies employ more than 11,000 people with really good salaries on the market, and they have a forecasted annual turnover of 200 million euros. Of course, in the next years, we would like that Moldova will become a unicorn and will generate 1 million USD dollars in terms of IT industry. But besides the fiscal and immigration incentives that I have been talked about, I would like to emphasize that actually Moldova's strongest advantage lies in its people. We have very talented people in Moldova with good technical education, with excellent foreign language skills, and they can also have the possibility to use this advanced and reliable ICT infrastructure, the e-government services that Mr. Turcanu talked about. And we should mention, which is also very important for investors, the operational cost. We have relatively low operational cost, and these bound with people, our people talent, and with the tax and immigration regime that we have for Moldova IT Park, I'm sure that we can actually develop Moldova as a future global tech hub. So at the end of my presentation, I would like to invite all the investors that are thinking about investing in the IT sector to explore Moldova as an opportunity to invest in.
Thank you, Natalia. Please correct me if I'm wrong. The weight of ICT sector has increased in the last 5 years from 3% to 10%, or am I wrong?
So in 2019, the share of Moldovan ICT sector is 7.1 in our GDP, out of which 3.1% are related to IT industry.
Thank you very much. When foreign media talks about Moldova, we always hear a country sandwiched between Romania and Ukraine, or the tiny Moldova from Eastern Europe that produces a good wine and which has good IT engineers. Are we producing one of the best wines in the world, or is there something else we can offer to this world? I invite here Mrs. Doina Nistor to talk about the creative industries, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to Moldova Business Week. Of course, the last era, we can say that is the era of technology. This era is actually the era of creativity. We are seeing the rise of the creative economies around the world, and we're seeing that the countries around the world actually rely on the creative economy to produce jobs and growth, to stimulate innovation, to fuel tourism, and to promote cultural diversity. Of course, the future of jobs is about creativity, because creativity cannot be replaced by machines. And around the world, the creative industries are being seen as high potential industries, and are actually right now about 3% of the world GDP. What are the top 3 earners in the creative industries? We're seeing here it's about television, visual arts, publishing, and these same industries, they're actually the largest top 3 employers around the world. If we're looking at the creative sector in Moldova, I mean, this is something new. This is a new conversation starter for what is Moldova's creative industry. Moldova's creative industry is not only about its business and tax incentives, it's not about its younger and sort of burgeoning market. Moldova's creative capital is actually in its people. The cultural diversity is the strength of Moldova when it comes to the creative talent. But also what's unique about Moldova is the convergence of creativity and technology. We're seeing that Moldova is becoming home to actually global creative companies. For example, Crunchyroll, that's an American distributor and publisher that's focused on streaming animes and manga, and they're part of Warner Media. So Crunchyroll, they have offices in San Francisco, in LA, in Tokyo, and in Chisinau, Moldova. Another exciting company that's here is, for example, Bully Entertainment. They are a US animation and game design studio, and they are doing some innovative brand experience around the world and working for top clients like, for example, Nike, Ford, and Disney. So they have their offices in Moldova, and what's interesting about them is that they are exploring the emerging technologies like AR or VR, but even Oculus Rift and Leap Motion. So again, we're seeing that global convergence of technology and creativity. A newcomer, for example, to the Moldovan market is Ringtail. That's a smaller company from Estonia, which recently opened its offices in Moldova, and that's providing 3D content production. So we're seeing that Moldova is starting to export actually its creative services around the world. For example, it exports post-production services in countries like the America, sound production services around the world. But also, you mentioned about wine. So the label, few people know that wine is actually sold in the supermarket based on the label. So you pick the wine based on the label. So the creativity of Moldova's, of the Moldovans is helping the wine industry, but they're also creating award-winning labels for wineries from France or Spain or other Latin American wine producers. If we're talking about Moldova's film capacity, we must acknowledge that Moldova has about 200 international awards for its cinematography, among which, for example, the Karlovy Vary International Film Festival, which is an acclaimed festival in its world. But what I want to mention is actually ARIP, which is the first VR animated production of Moldova. It's the first VR film. It's using immersive storytelling and interactive media and virtual reality technologies. But what's interesting is ARIP, the first award was as best 3D film at CAF Festival in the USA, and they have over 20 awards since then. But right now, they actually made it to the final selection to a big Asia festival. It's called Asia. And they are actually competing for computer graphics and interactive technologies, and that's the largest festival in this kind. Lobster, this is about industrial design. So Lobster is actually a Red Dot Award winning device that's developed by Garage Startup Accelerator in Moldova, and that's like the Oscar in the world of industrial design. Design and advertising, the Cresta Award winners in 2020, as we speak. This is a London-based competition, and that's the highest standards of creativity. So as we speak, like this summer, we have Pico agency from Moldova that is a gold winner for digital design, and they're next to winners from US, Sweden, UK, or Japan, or other leading creative economies. In Moldova, we have tried to measure the creative industry. So we've seen the success stories, but what is a creative industry in Moldova? It's advertising, architecture, design. This is the traditional UNCTAD measuring unit, or the visual sector, publishing, performing arts, games and IT, creative tech. And we have seen that there are over 2,800 companies in Moldova, and the number of companies is actually growing over the past years with a 20% average annual growth. Where are their employees? The talent is there. There are 13,000 of creative professionals, and we're seeing more as freelancers that are in like areas like 3D, 2D graphic design, illustrators, sound engineers, post-production engineers, and their number is growing. The sales too, this is an industry that's about worth today 200 million, so we can actually compare it to technology, to IT or wine. So we're seeing the growth of creative sectors in Moldova. Average growth is 23%. And exports too. Moldova exports about 70 million of creative goods with a 30% average increase, but also its creative services, and that's about 61 million today. You're seeing where our freelancers, so they're all over the international freelance sites. And we're looking at creative industries as high potential verticals in Moldova. And in addition to the film, television that I mentioned, we're seeing a lot of creative tech potential verticals like AR, VR, motion capture, animation, game development, digital, music, videos. So Moldova can really become the creative hub in these verticals. The government is recognizing the growing role of creative industries, and it's actually setting up this business and tax incentives that are so important for emerging industries. The Moldova IT Park, 7% single tax, has 5% of it are creative firms. And what is exciting is we have motion picture or video and television, post-production activities that are qualifying or that are eligible activities for the creative IT Park. And also, there is something else coming up, which is the cash rebate in film and audiovisual that's expected to be enforced in 2021. The law is already there. What does it mean? The cash rebate is the recognized incentive in the film industry. All of the EU countries have it. So once Moldova has it and the law is there, it will actually incentivize foreign film productions in Moldova, returning about 30% of the eligible expenditures that are spent in Moldova. And that, for example, triggered the Netflix-type productions in Ukraine. So Moldova is becoming competitive, so watch out for that. I cannot mention the fact that the industry is cooperating, and that's very important. We have the Core Creative Industries Association that emerged. They are the private sector voice. It's such a diverse association. They have 39 members and growing, and they're connecting the Moldovan businesses to their global peers. But it's also a unique voice. And of course, because creativity is about talent, is about human capital. We are working with Moldova's top universities to develop forward-looking talent and skill. This is ArtCore. It's the first creative industries center. By the way, the building of ArtCore is also an award-winning building at Arch Daily. This is for its architectural unique design. And it's a joint partnership between the Moldovan government, the Academy of Fine Arts, the development partners, which is USAID, Sweden, and UK Aid, but also the Core Creative Industries Association, the private sector. ArtCore has an exciting alternative school that's actually supporting the digital technologies in the creative area, and tons of exciting events. What's coming up? Media Core is coming up next at the State University, and that's a digital media production center. It's again a partnership between donors, the government, the university, and the private sector. It's a nearly 1.5 million investment, and it's opening door in 2021. I will have recording studios, color correction, virtual production. So it's basically a sandbox for the students, for creative startups. It's all going through the new era of digital creativity. So I hope that I've convinced you, I've sustained the case of Moldova as a creative hub, and I hope that the Moldova Creative is a good place to be.
Thank you. One quick question. You mentioned some very nice figures about the creative industries. This industry has developed due to incentives, due to donor programs, or is just the talented people of Moldova just showed they're talented?
I would say the first and foremost is about the talent and the creativity. I have been to other countries that are not able to spur creativity. Moldova has that. So we just need to nurture that and incentivize the development. Of course, incentives have their own role because we would like Moldova to become a global creative hub. And this is where incentives make Moldova more competitive and more attractive for the international investment partners.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all the panelists that have fitted in the time schedule, which is very tight. We have managed to be in time with the presentations. Dear friends, as you have seen, Moldova has committed to innovate, to build a digital hub in Eastern Europe, boost creative industries, and change the way businesses and citizens interact with public services. Thank you for watching this panel, and stay tuned. In a couple of minutes, a new session is on the way about the success stories of Moldova's super brands. Thank you.
Lumea este în permanență.